coming up tonight on VCU InSight.
I'm Yvonne Hewlett. Find out the latest on Petersburg's financial crisis, including a 17-page plan to help its schools.
I'm Tiffany Hill. Title IX has been in the news recently, and I'm here to tell you how Title IX can protect you on campus.
And an opioid epidemic is killing hundreds of Americans. We'll tell you what Virginia's doing about it.
All of this and more.
VCU InSight starts right now.
From the Richard T. Robertson School of Media and Culture at Virginia Commonwealth University, named Best Student Newscast in the Mid-Atlantic, this is VCU InSight.
Good evening and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Cole Smith.
And I'm Bethany Bridges. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, city employees laid off, overdue sewage bills, lawsuits, and more have Petersburg City in a deepening financial crisis. And the massive $12 million budget deficit is hitting schools. Yvonne Hewlett is standing by with more on this developing story. Yvonne?
That's right, Bethany. A hiring freeze and cuts to education are among the proposals. The city has also composed a 17-page action plan. Worried parents met at one Petersburg school to hear possible solutions.
Failed to meet accreditation, Petersburg school system is now also facing financial issues. Petersburg High School held a community meeting to discuss plans following a $3.4 million budget cut. Parents, teachers, and students came out to hear suggestions and voice their opinions to school leaders. Petersburg School Superintendent Dr. Marcus Newsom made two recommendations in order to close the school budget gap.
One, not filling vacant positions that are not required by the Virginia Department of Education, and we will save about $1.5 million there. And then there is flexibility in the budget that would have allowed me to implement programs. We're going to cut about $1.9 million from that for a total of $3.4 million in cuts.
In addition to budgeting issues, accreditation has also been a major concern. Petersburg High School is only partially accredited, while schools like Peabody Middle have failed to meet state standards for 11 consecutive years.
The community and school officials have organized a corrective action draft. An essential action of the draft is to provide training to teachers and principals on the processes used to develop classroom assessments which are aligned to the standards of learning. Marnan Davis Sanders' son is a senior at Petersburg High School. She says parents need to take the first step in helping the school system.
For the stakes that are involved, for the number of kids that we have in the system, for the people who want so many things from the school system and expect so much from the school system, you have to have the parent involvement.
Petersburg school officials expect the corrective action plan to be completed within 3 to 5 years. They are asking for patience as they strive to do more with less.
And it's going to be a tough holiday season for 26 Petersburg City tourism employees. They've been given their pink slips effective early November. Plus, the city's interim director of finance is stepping down in a couple of weeks. We'll keep you posted on the latest. For VCU InSight, Yvonne Hewlett.
Thanks, Yvonne. Can you tell the signs of heroin addiction? Vomiting, scratching, and slurred speech are just a few, but the destruction of family and relationships from the drug has officials scrambling for answers. Now Virginia has created a force to fight this deadly epidemic. Tiffany Hill has the latest on how many addicts are dying in Central Virginia.
This photo was taken after an off-duty officer checked on a vehicle that had slowed and stopped in the middle of the road. The Virginia Department of Health reported that opioid overdoses have increased over the past few years, and new measures have been taken to help victims of this drug. Robert Balster, professor of pharmacology and toxicology, explained how this drug went from a problem to an epidemic.
We have about between 5 and 10 people dying in the Richmond area every month from opiate overdose. I keep thinking to myself that if we had 5 people dying from Zika or from Ebola, we would be all up in arms.
Governor McAuliffe created a task force in 2014 to help the dangerous epidemic of opioid and prescription drugs. The task force and the governor announced this year CVS stores across the state will now be able to carry naloxone, an overdose reversal drug, without any prescription. Robert Balster thinks the government should get involved with this epidemic because of how widespread it is.
This one is a sort of gets to everybody. They're occurring in rural areas, suburban Richmond communities. There isn't a real demographic. It seems to be hitting everybody.
Signs of an overdose are loss of consciousness, slow breathing, awake but unresponsive, vomiting, pale face, and slow or erratic pulse. To help someone in an overdose, you can administer the naloxone medication, or if that is unavailable, stay calm and call an ambulance. For VCU InSight, I'm Tiffany Hill.
The federal government is also fighting this nationwide nightmare by passing a bill promoting treatment and preventive measures.
104 hepatitis A cases in Virginia and counting. That's according to the Virginia Department of Health after reports of people falling ill from tainted strawberries at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Since August, there have been 126 cases in 8 states stemming from the contaminated drinks. The Virginia Department of Health also says the slow rise in reported cases is because hepatitis A may not show symptoms for up to 50 days after the person has been infected. Multiple class action lawsuits have been filed against Tropical Smoothie here in Virginia. And Chesterfield police need your help in finding suspects in a double homicide that shocked the Chesden Landing neighborhood over Labor Day weekend. The social media organized party has police using the same platform to try and solve the crime. VCU InSight's Michelle Dang has more.
Police arrived on scene at 1:50 in the morning on September 4th to find 2 people shot dead. The party of 300 people at this unfinished $1 million mansion Saturday, September 3rd was organized through social media. The 300 people at the party were from all over Virginia. According to the police, some coming from as far as Northern Virginia. The police say that they do not know why this house was chosen.
A party that was advertised through social media and then word of mouth, friend-to-friend type thing of another house that happened to be vacant. It was a house that was for sale at the time. But as far as a house that was under construction like this one was, I'm not really certain of any other instances we've had.
Police are hoping that a closer look at social media will give them more leads. So far, no one has come forward with further information except for a vague description of someone at the party. He is said to be a black male in his 20s. There's also a lack of pictures and videos on Facebook and Instagram of that night.
We much believe that, they had, cell phones with them. They were taking lots of pictures, taking lots of videos. And those videos and pictures are of tremendous value to us.
Although this party was shocking to residents in Chesden Landing, it's just the latest in a line of incidents that have caused extensive damages. In East Bridgewater, Massachusetts, a party announced on Facebook caused $45,000 worth of damage. For VCU InSight, this is Michelle Dang.
If you have any information, please contact Chesterfield Police or Crime Stoppers at 804-780-1000.
It's being called one of the most bizarre presidential contests in years, and both parties are pushing to register every eligible voter. That includes VCU students who are working to get fellow students and urban Richmond residents to the polls. Artesia Johnson reports on the Get Out the Vote effort.
Vote Everywhere is a nationwide program, a part of the Andrew Goodman Foundation, which has made its way to the VCU campus. The purpose of this program is to register underrepresented populations and advocate for various social awareness campaigns. Students on campus shouldn't have to wait for a representative with a clipboard to get them registered to vote. Instead, Vote Everywhere wants to integrate voting onto the campus.
And what we're doing is we're reaching out to student volunteers, we're advocating in classrooms, we're advocating in club meetings to let them know, one, about the history of the civil rights movement, how we're still in that process of fighting for civil rights, but also the importance of voting.
September 27th was National Voter Registration Day. As a part of the Andrew Goodman Foundation grant to VCU, Vote Everywhere held an event at the Daily Planet. Student Ambassador Camilla Harris got clients of the Daily Planet and homeless people within the community registered to vote.
We met a few people who were felons who needed to apply to get their rights restored, so we walked them through the process so that they'll be able to vote again.
I'm holding a voter registration application form. October 17th is the last day to register to vote before the presidential election. Vote Everywhere representatives will be in the VCU Commons or at the VCU campus to register students to vote.
I think we live in a very apathetic generation, and there's no reason to be apathetic when our voice can count just as much as anybody else's.
For VCU InSight, I'm Artesia Johnson.
State residents can also register online at the Virginia Department of Elections website or visit their local registration office to fill out a form in person. If you are unsure about your registration status, go to vote.elections.virginia.gov to see if your information is up to date.
Athletes today are more concerned about head trauma than ever before. Up next, a VCU expert discusses the key to avoiding long-term brain damage when it comes to concussions.
And if you bike to campus, a new program may give you a little peace of mind. Coming up, see how VCU police are using new technologies to stop thieves from stealing students' bikes.
We've never been very good at sitting still. Maybe that's why we built our campus in the middle of a city. Why we put our classrooms on riverbanks, in Fortune 500 companies, even on stage. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. What matters most is how you make it real.
The University of Richmond made national news last month after 2 female students claimed the university mishandled their sexual assault cases.
So how do universities investigate claims of sexual assault? Tiffany Hill is here with the answer. Tiffany?
Title IX is a federal law that prohibits discrimination based on gender at federally funded schools. I'm here with Laura Ruggless and Tammy Slavinsky, the VCU Title IX coordinators, to talk about how the program is designed to help students report sexual assault. Thanks for being here, Laura and Tammy.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so who enforces Title IX at universities?
Well, in a sense, everyone at the university does. We have a shared responsibility, but the office that's been designated at VCU is Equity and Access Services, and the Title IX coordinator has the responsibility to ensure compliance with the federal law.
Okay. And how involved is the school when it comes to sexual assault crimes? Students report to the school. Could you tell us a little bit about that process?
Sure. As soon as we receive a report under Title IX, we immediately assess the circumstances that have been reported to determine what support the student may need to ensure that student's well-being and safety. And through a number of people involved as part of the Title IX team, that's all possible. There's also a new state reporting law, and so we convene a sexual violence review committee every 72 hours to assess further whether that report needs to be made to law enforcement and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. There's a university investigation process that can follow. So there's a number of steps, and all throughout those steps we're making sure that the students, all parties, are treated fairly and with respect.
Okay. And how would a student go to make a claim or a report?
There's a number of ways students can make reports, and there's no wrong way to do it. We have an online report form, which some people find to be very convenient. You can also call us. Tammy takes a lot of the student-related reports. You can email us. Students make reports through employees at the university, and they in turn report to the Title IX office. We also receive reports through our police department.
Okay. And does Title IX, making a Title IX report, usually lead to charges being pressed, or is that two separate things?
That will really be up to the student who's making the report, who's reported to have experienced the conduct. We encourage that. We coordinate closely to make sure that's an option for the student if they do want to do that. But ultimately, it will be up to the student to decide whether to participate in which process.
Okay. And what has VCU done to ensure students are aware of Title IX and how it works and what violates it?
We do a lot at the university, starting with an online program. It takes about an hour for the students to complete, and we're asking that students complete that program before they come to the university so they understand our expectations and also how to look out for or listen for problematic situations that they can intervene and help us. We can help the community as a whole if people are reporting to us and letting us know what's happening. And we also do a lot of live sessions. So during Welcome Week, I spoke with over 3,000 students during Welcome Week in different workshops. And then throughout the year, the Wellness Resource Center provides prevention programming to students. And those are usually live presentations, a lot of discussion, a lot of awareness programs throughout the year.
Okay. And where can students find you guys, like your office, and how to contact you about a report?
Well, you can find us online. We have the online reporting form that Laura mentioned, and Equity and Access Services is the office that does the investigations, and also where students and faculty and staff can make a report.
Okay. I've been speaking with Laura Ruglis and Tammy Savinsky. Thanks for stopping by. Bethany and Cole, back to you.
Thanks, Tiffany. Memory loss and traumatic brain injury are some of the symptoms of football-related concussions.
With football season underway, VCU Health hosted a Facebook Live chat with the chairman of VCU's Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, Dr. David Sifu. He says one of the keys to treating concussions is early detection.
1 or 2 is terrible. 3 or 4 is probably worse. How close they occur to each other, what you did right afterwards, how you're taking care of the rest of your body. Are you early activating, getting back to it? Are you healing the brain? Those are key factors.
Sifu is involved in a $62 million federally funded project focusing on concussions in sports and military combat. Bike theft is one of the most common crimes on college campuses, and VCU police are fighting back. VCU police say that hundreds of student bikers are prime targets for robberies. However, a new registration system is helping students stick it to these thieves. Students place a sticker on their bike that contains the serial number the size of a pinpoint and then register it online. VCU can then read the numbers by zooming in on the image. These stickers are helping VCU police prevent bike and laptop theft. Currently, VCU police give out free U-locks to students, but Chief Pruce hopes the stickers will replace cable locks like these.
I've got a little piece of paper here to show that's what gets left behind, and it's essentially the serial number of your sticker stays behind. There would be a number that would be tied to you that if your bike was found recovered, somebody was on it and it was reported stolen, we could run the number and correlate it back to you.
VCU police say none of the bikes bearing these new stickers have been stolen since the start of this program.
Still to come, the revolution could be ending sooner than you think. Find out when AMC's war drama Turn will be filming its final season here in Virginia.
Plus, construction is underway to improve GRTC's service in and around the Richmond area. Up next, we'll give you details on how traffic could be affected.
We've never been very good at sitting still. Maybe that's why we built our campus in the middle of a city. Why we put our classrooms on riverbanks, in Fortune 500 companies, even on stage. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. What matters most is how you make it real.
As the presidential candidates battle for every vote, including minorities, who's got the black millennial vote? Artisha Johnson is here with more.
Thanks, Cole. According to a 2015 Pew Research Center study, millennials have surpassed baby boomers as the largest group of the Americans in the country. Today I'll be discussing the involvement of these black millennials in the 2016 presidential election with VCU political science professor Alexander Reckendorf and VCU student activist Angelique Scott. Thank you guys for being here. So Angelique, I wanted to start with you. As a student activist, how can you get, or how have you gotten young black adults involved in this 2016 presidential election?
I think the biggest way is just spreading awareness for how important voting is in this election and in every election, and not just at national level. A lot of times we can get so caught up talking about the presidential campaign, but Richmond is also going through a lot of changes, and so just getting people really aware about who are the candidates, what are they advocating for, what are they going to do if they get in office, and just making sure that people know how important their vote is and that their vote does actually matter and it makes a difference.
So, Ms. Reckendorf, I wanted to know, how do you feel Black millennials can make a difference in this voter outcome for the 2016 election?
So millennials, no matter who they are, but specifically Black millennials, need to realize that voting as an aggregate block tends to make a difference on the numbers. And especially, like Angelique said, at local levels where a lot of that change happens first. So if we're looking for a way to change the system from within, that's a way to get it started, is to make sure that at local and state levels change is happening, and hoping for a trickle up effect at the national level at some point, even if you're not totally satisfied with both candidates on the Democrat and Republican side in the national election. We are, as millennials, the largest voting bloc, except we vote at the lowest levels. But what's interesting is that Black millennials over the last 2 election cycles have voted at higher rates than white millennials, Hispanic millennials. And so if they were to sit this one out, it could have a greater impact on the vote share that the Democratic candidate is getting. And I think if you listen to the rhetoric of both sides, one side is trying to grapple with the issue of race a bit more than another. And even if we're not necessarily satisfied with both parties, it's a system we've inherited, and there's something to be said for trying to make change within as well as without or outside the system, as Angelique is doing.
So we do have footage of you, Angelique, at this semester's Know Your Rights Forum. You were speaking there and attending events like this. Why do you believe Black millennials have such a lack of enthusiasm for this election and their candidates?
I don't know if I would say it's a lack of enthusiasm. I would just say it's maybe misplaced enthusiasm for this election. And I think it's because a lot of the past history of both parties on who's running and who's the candidates for each party. And I think once you know about that, and then also everything that's been going on in social media and what's been going on in the media as far as like television and a newspaper, that's really running the election. So if people are reading and taking in all of this information and that's all they're looking for, and they're just stopping at there and they're not really researching further than that, it can really deter people away from, okay, well, I'm just not going to vote at all. And I think a lot of people feel like they're voting for the lesser of two evils, which I'm not saying they are or aren't, but I also think people are kind of just stopping there and they're not really going and researching, okay, well, what are these people actually saying? Who else could I vote for? What are my local and state candidates? What are they running for and stuff like that? I just think people aren't really continuing their research and continuing to find out, okay, well, I'm not really happy with these two. What else can I do?
Okay, well, I've been speaking with Professor Alexandra Reckendorf and student activist Angelique Scott. Thank you both for stopping by. Back to you, Bethany and Cole.
Thanks, Artesia. Good news for GRTC bus riders. Construction is underway on a multi-million-dollar bus ride transit system called Pulse that promises faster, more frequent bus service in Richmond. Austin Moore explains.
Welcome aboard GRTC.
GRTC is working to improve public transportation with their new bus rapid transit system, Pulse. Pulse will help alleviate some of the issues riders have with the current bus lines.
There are so many stops along Broad Street. It's legit almost every block or every other block, so time effective, no.
Pulse will stretch 7.5 miles with 14 stops from Willow Lawn to Rockets Landing. The bus line will run constantly, improving the reliability of transit operations along Broad Street and Main Street. One way GRTC's Pulse is going to improve traffic and rider time is by using lanes similar to this bus-only lane along Broad Street. These lanes are expected to improve rider time by up to 33%. Pulse will also have prioritized stoplights, allowing buses to get ahead of traffic so that they can change lanes more effectively. Ryan Rich says he rides the bus to and from work every day, and Pulse will help save 15 minutes off of his daily commute.
15 minutes would be a great deal.
Construction has begun, and GRTC says that it will be done in phases and have little effect on traffic.
There are no full closures of Broad Street or Main Street expected for this work. Traffic will still be able to get through, and that was very important.
Construction will take place between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday through October of 2017.
You're going to see a huge improvement in the traffic flow.
For VCU InSight, I'm Austin Moore.
Businesses along Broad Street will still be open during construction. Information is updated at ridegrtc.com.
The Richmond Folk Festival is one of the most musically diverse in the nation. Now in its 12th year, the country's largest folk festival is adding hip-hop to expand their audience. Tony Tucker has the story.
Not even the rain and the muddy conditions could stop people from dancing the weekend away at this year's Richmond Folk Festival. For music lovers that attended, there was a medley of music to choose from. Of the over 40 scheduled performers, 14 were brand new faces to the Folk Festival stage. 2 of those new faces were Ed Cage and Nicole Paris, a father-daughter beatboxing duo from St. Louis, Missouri. This is only the second time a hip-hop act has performed at the Richmond Folk Festival. The first was hip-hop pioneer DJ Grandmaster Flash, who performed an energetic DJ set at last year's festival. Ed Cage says, despite the bad weather, he's grateful for the great reception he received from the crowd.
We absolutely love this place. You know, even with the rain, we're just so grateful that so many people came out in the rain, muddy, and this has been a fantastic experience.
Adding hip-hop to the Folk Festival is part of a new festival initiative to showcase the 5 elements of hip-hop, which are DJing, MCing, beatboxing, graffiti, and breakdancing. For festival goers who witnessed beatboxing for the first time, Nicole Paris hopes there's one thing you took away from her performance.
Do you, because that's what I do. That is my go-to thing. I just do me. Keep it raw, keep it you, keep it 100.
For VCU InSight, I'm Tony Tucker.
Despite the rain, organizers still estimate nearly 200,000 people attended the 3-day festival.
Virginia has always been known for its concentration of American history, and Hollywood certainly taken advantage of that. However, one popular Revolutionary War TV show shot here is entering its last season. The AMC Channel TV drama Turn, Washington Spies, will end its 4-year run after production begins this spring. You'll recall the Oscar-winning film Lincoln, the HBO TV series John Adams, and the recent Daniel Radcliffe film Imperium, were also shot here in Virginia. The PBS Civil War series Mercy Street recently finished shooting its 2nd season here, and there's Oscar buzz for the upcoming historical drama Loving, a story of a black and white couple who helped strike down Virginia's law against interracial marriage. In an interview, Governor Terry McAuliffe says film and TV production will continue to greatly impact Virginia's economy.
And that does it for this edition of VCU InSight.
Make sure you check out our website, vcu.edu.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under VCU InSight. Contact us with any stories you'd like to see on our show.
And if you missed our show or would like to watch it again, you can find us on YouTube at VCU InSight. Thanks for watching. I'm Bethany Bridges.
And I'm Cole Smith. We'll see you next time.